In this video, we're going to talk about precompositions or precomps. So I've got a scene here, and I'm just going to press play real quick. And you can see that it's the same three elements that we used in parenting, but I've created some motion with them. Let's say this is your company logo, and you wanted to do some animation of your company logo. We've got all three elements moving, and they're coming together, and then have a name pop up or whatever. But you can see here that we've got and these are just three elements: is the rectangle, the circle, and the star. But for each of them, we've got a whole bunch of keys that we've set, and it's kind of messy. It takes up a lot of space, and it's a little hard to see this, especially if there were other elements on screen. These aren't, a lot of times you're not going to have just these three elements on screen. You have a lot more. So if there's something like this that can be put together in advance that is going to behave in a certain way, then you can use it. You can create a pre-comp with it, a pre-composition. And it's just like a composition, but instead of taking elements and putting them into the main composition, what you're going to do is take the elements that you want in the pre-composition, then create a pre-comp for it. And After Effects will take all of those elements and create a new composition based around what you've already done. So let me show you what I mean. I'm going to close all these down just so it's a little neater to see what's going on. So I've still got the star, circle, and rectangle. They're doing their thing. And to create a pre-comp, all I have to do is select all the layers that I want. So it's all three layers in this case. Let's assume there's other stuff going on in the background. But I want these three layers to be their own composition, because once I've got it set up, it's good to go, and I don't need to mess with it anymore, and I don't want it getting in the way while I'm working on other things. So with the layers selected that you want in the pre-composition, you're going to right click to bring up this menu, and then down here we've got pre-compose. This is a pre-comp, and I'm going to let go of that, and I get a little prompt window that says give us a composition name. So in this case, if we're going to go with the idea that it's our logo animation, we'll just call it that. And you have a couple of options. The first option is leave all your attributes in composition 1. Usually not the goal of doing a pre-comp. The goal of doing a pre-comp is to get everything into its own separate composition, and then you can work with it as its own entity rather than having it still in individual pieces in the main timeline. Usually what you want is move all attributes into the new composition, and then we'll hit OK, and you'll see that all three of those layers went away. I now have in the timeline a composition called logo animation, and up here in my asset directory I've also got logo animation. It still plays exactly the same way, but now it's its own entity. So if I wanted to add more stuff in here, let's say I wanted to put in, I don't know, we'll pick another. I want to put a big polygon behind here for this to be on top of. Put that there, and we'll put that below. And now this plays on top of that, and I can keep working with that polygon separately without having to worry about the pre-comp eating up space here in the composition window. So I'm going to delete that. There it goes. And there's one other thing that's really cool about these pre-comps, and that is this is its own kind of mini composition. You see, if we double click on it, it opens up a timeline for logo animation, and here's all of our pieces with all of the keys that we set. So this is still editable, it's still manipulatable, we can still do different things with it. We just do it inside the pre-comp now rather than doing it on the main timeline. But here's what's really cool about this. We're going to go back out to our composition. We can bring copies of this down onto the timeline. We can bring additional instances of this pre-comp down onto the timeline and do different things with them. We can scale them down. We can bring another one down, scale it down, make it really tiny, and maybe rotate it, flip it upside down. Maybe, because that's what you want to do. I don't know. Maybe you do. Here we go. Oh, come on. Work with me too. All right, I'll just leave it like that. Yeah, that's fine. And now when we play, they all do the same thing. Now, there's obviously some limitations here that you can probably see. The circle and the star, because they're coming in from the main composition, from the edge of the frame, they do appear cut off as they come in. So those are the kind of things that you have to be aware of and work with, so that, if you're going to have something that comes in from the edge of the frame, it's probably not a good idea to scale your pre-comp down, because that edge is always going to show. Unless we took, the other thing we could do is we could take this second, and always rename these things. This is the full size. Whoops, sorry, my bad. Go back, right click, and hit rename, and we'll say this, we'll call this full. I think typing issues today. Full size. And then this one is medium size. And then this one will be small. And we're gonna unrotate him just because I don't want him rotated anymore. Rotate, and you can see the rotation for the composition is on the composition itself. This doesn't affect any of the rotation that's going on inside the composition itself. This is just the positioning of the comp itself. So we could take this now that we've got it all set, and we can put it so that composition is right at the edge, and we can do the same thing with the medium one. And then when we play this, well, the star still has a little bit of an edge problem, but again, we could fix that too. We could bring this up here like this, just snug it into the corner, take the small one, snug that one right up into the corner, and then you have this kind of mirror effect kind of thing. But be aware that if you're going to scale your pre-comp once you've created it, anything that comes in from the edges is going to look cut off at some point. So just be aware of that. One other thing to talk about this week, and that's nesting, and we'll get to that in the next video.